everybody, and welcome back to Quick Review Thursday. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody, and I'm here with my guest,
Hello, Dustin
Dustin
Hubbard.
Dustin Hubbard. Uh, so if you guys haven't noticed, our communication's a little off. I think there's like an internet connection issue, but we are here to do it regardless, and we're really excited. So, thank you, Dustin, for coming on the show. All right. Well, I think, did you hear me? Anyway, uh, we're gonna talk about the flick Voodoo Academy, which was you said was a weird flick for me to choose.
Yes, this is definitely not one that I would expect too many people to choose from Dakota's lineup. So,
You said even like Full Moon sort of disowned it, right?
yeah, it's really not something you see listed under Full Moon. I don't believe it's available through their streaming service. They don't sell it on DVD anymore. It was available very briefly in a triple pack with two other sort of, you know, magic, like, voodoo kind of culty sort of themed movies. And other than that, it's just sort of, it doesn't exist. You'll notice when the movie starts, it says it's cult video, which was sort of a side label of Full Moon. So it's like Full Moon, but it's Full Moon adjacent. I would question if it's even part of their numbered catalog. Dave didn't want to do directing duties on Totem because that was kind of a plagued film. So he agreed to do Totem if Charlie helped back this movie. So it was kind of a trade off.
Which is funny because for Indie Film Cafe, you, me, and I think John Ward, if I'm correct, did Totem.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, so we already reviewed that one. So I wanted to do Voodoo Academy because I sort of always knew it as sort of the precursor to the Brotherhood series of films, and then later on would be turned into like the 1313 movies and all these like shirtless
Yeah.
guys movies that are out from
Yes. Yeah, this was definitely the I would say maybe the first full-fledged movie of its kind where when it came out, Dave talked about it, saying that it was the first horror movie for girls, which I think, no shade, but I think publicly that sounds like a more polite way of promoting the movie instead of saying that it's the first horror movie exclusively for gay men. Uh, Supposedly, a lot of these movies at the time did have a lot of female viewership, but I feel like the audience was more the former than the latter. So this one was one of the last real Full Moon movies he did. He did this, and then right around the same period was when he established Rapid Heart Pictures, which would they actually debuted just before the release of this movie with Ancient Evil: Scream of the Mummy, starring Ariana Albright.
I have that.
And then, yeah, great movie. And then after this one, I think he would have one more real Full Moon release with Prison of the Dead, and then it was full steam ahead with Rapid Heart, and that's when Rapid Heart's second picture was The Brotherhood, which became their perennial, franchise that ran for 6 films.
Was it
Um,
6? I was
and,
thought it was
and it
5.
also, there were six of them, and it ran. It was very successful, and Rapid Heart had a pretty solid run as exclusively distributed titles through Blockbuster for a while as well. He had a really lucrative deal with Blockbuster, so
Oh yeah, I remember the Brotherhood movies being in Blockbuster and actually buying a few, I think, from Blockbuster.
yeah. Yeah, one, two, and three were exclusively distributed through Blockbuster, and then after that, I believe shortly after that, the production deal sort of fizzled, and parts 4, 5, and 6 were produced and distributed through Regent Entertainment and Here TV. So significant thing with this movie though is it was shot. It was promised that he could have full creative control to make the exact movie he wanted to make, but there would be two cuts. And I know you and I kind of questioned the cut that was on Tubi.
Mm-hmm. Did you find any information
This
about that?
cut is the director's cut that's on Tubi. It
Okay.
does say that it is R rated, but that is actually false. It is unrated. So this is not R rated. It is genuinely unrated. But it was originally released on VHS in a very truncated, neutered version that I want to say only ran about 65 minutes. So they reinstated nearly 30 minutes of content for the director's cut, which was an exclusive Blu-ray release through the Lunar Edition DVD at Full Moon.
Oh wow. It was it's funny for a movie called Voodoo Academy. Uh there's it was weird because it wasn't really voodoo, I guess, or was it? I don't know. It
Yeah,
was
there's
weird.
just like voodoo dolls, some
It,
voodoo dolls, and a lot of
so-
wine rub downs.
I think it would have been cooler to do more stuff with the voodoo dolls, but they kind of all they were like little
Mhm.
dolls that just went, "Meow," the whole time. It was really weird.
Yeah.
Such a strange movie. I didn't hate it,
Mhm.
because I mean I get it as a David Dakota fan, but it was weird, you know.
Yeah, it's a strange movie. It's definitely not something that your average horror fan, I think, can sit down and enjoy. It's definitely not something that mass audiences can sit and enjoy, and definitely not your average Full Moon fan. Uh, I know when the cut of this was delivered to Full Moon, there was a period of silence where uh, the brass at Full Moon didn't really know what to say because they didn't expect this. I think those themes had existed in a lot of movies that Dave had made for Full Moon, and some of them would toy with little aspects of homoeroticism or sort of suggestive themes. But this one was blatantly just like, we've got a movie with six great looking guys. They're going to spend 85% of the movie literally in their boxer briefs,
Except for the
rubbing themselves
main
down and
character.
writhing around in bed and being rubbed down with like wine.
Yeah, but except for the main
Yes, he
character.
actually
Yeah.
he actually escaped fairly unscathed by a lot of that angle of it. This movie was actually designed as a vehicle for Riley Smith, so the lead actor. This was, I believe, his second or third film for Dave at this point. He
Oh
had
wow.
he had he had made his debut in Alien Arsenal for Full Moon,
Okay.
alongside Josh Hammond, and it was kind of like the third attempt at doing a laser blast type film with kids finding alien weaponry. So Riley had a small part in that as one of the bullies. I feel like there might have been another one right after that, but then Voodoo Academy was designed as his starring vehicle. So I think with that too, he probably got away with not having to be in the same position as a lot of the other guys. So he got to try and actually carry the movie with a lot of the heavy acting lifting.
I mean, I was looking at his resume, and I mean, dude, through IMDb, he's made a lot of movies. Like, I think he's probably one of the bigger stars to come out from Dave Dakota.
He went on to be fairly prolific. Oddly enough, too, Riley went on not long after this. Maybe I think the next year he ended up having a brief cameo in Bring It On One with Huntley Ritter, the guy who plays the jock obsessed with his body.
Was that filmed
So
in
they
Canada?
Bring It On.
Yeah,
I don't believe so,
weird. I would
but
imagine that was.
definitely I would say like Riley was probably one of the larger discoveries, and in this movie as well. it is probably notable to say that Drew Fuller, who plays the really quiet one,
Yeah.
the more quiet one, I don't remember what his character name was, but he's the one that gets transformed in the bathtub.
Oh yeah,
He
yeah,
went,
yeah.
he went on to actually a very successful multi-year run on Charmed. So
Oh yes, I saw that. And I was actually really surprised because
yeah,
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 he was all the way to the end. Like I mean, he wasn't in every
yeah.
episode up there, but kept showing back up, I guess, you know.
Yeah, he was very successful on that show. So a lot of the other guys in this, they were kind of one and dones. They didn't really do a whole much else past this. So I don't think Kevin Calisher ever did much. Travis Sher only appeared in like one other short film that he literally got cast from because Dave saw it and put him in this movie. So
It's funny because Kevin Calisher is my favorite actor of the group because he was like the more fun one, you know? Like,
he's the one that actually has the most personality
yeah,
as a character. He's actually, I think, the best written character in the bunch.
absolutely. And I think he's
Because some
I,
of the others are, especially like,
what was that?
I was going to say, just some of the other ones, the side ones, like the Travis Sher and Drew Fuller characters, they don't really have anything to say or do. So they're just very bland one note characters. So
That's true. But I don't know. I liked both. Yeah, I looked at his thing. Apparently, Kevin Calisher also was in episode of Roswell, but that's about it. Other than that,
okay. I will say I'm not familiar with much that Ben Endra did after this movie. I feel like he did a few other things after this, but he was either around this time or maybe shortly thereafter. He was actually married to, I believe he was the first husband to Anna Faris. So he was married to her for a brief period.
lucky him. So
And Rhett Jordan, the guy who is the opening scene victim, he went on to be in a Toby Hooper movie for Sci-Fi. He was in Crocodile
oh yeah,
for Toby Hooper. I
I
feel like he was in a bunch of other stuff too, but those are the only two things that stand out.
so there's a guy who played Reverend Carmichael, and I looked at his stuff, but he's mainly a producer.
Okay, yeah. See, and I'm not overly familiar with Reverend Carmichael, Reverend Hollis Carmichael. I'm not. I'm not too
I think his
familiar with what he's
name
done
was
beyond
like
this.
Chad Burris.
Yeah, Chad Burris. And obviously, I mean, it goes to say, my stance on this. This started a weird trend with Dakota's movies, where yes, they became much more blatantly homoerotic. You started to have a lot of movies that were literally just entire features of guys in their underwear.
Mm-hmm.
But a key signature trait of a lot of these movies is
Is what?
one woman, one
One woman.
female. That's it. And boy, do they have a solid female in this, because I am always have been, am and always will be a humongous Deborah Mayer fan. The
Mm-hmm.
woman was amazing. So, and she owns this movie. So,
For sure. She actually stole this movie from everybody else, in my opinion.
yeah, she's obviously, you can tell watching it that she's the one who actually has the most experience in
Oh, I
front of
thought
the
you were gonna
camera.
say talent,
So
but but everybody's
I mean, at that point in time, probably, yeah, honestly. So,
yeah.
I mean, a lot of them, a couple of them obviously evolved pretty well past this movie, but she was definitely the most, schooled as far as work and resume at this point. She went on to do probably about, I want to say, there was a good 2 or 3 year period where she was the scream queen at Full Moon. She debuted with, I want to say, Blood Dolls, and ran straight through until the very first Ginger Dead Man, and
Wait, she was
that was
in
her,
Ginger Dead
I
Man?
believe, her last movie for Full Moon. But in that run, she made She is. She's one of the candy stripers in the very final moment of the bake sale at the end where they're selling all the little gingerbread man cookies.
Oh, okay, I remember that scene.
Very very brief cameo. A lot of movies she did for Full Moon, she would just kind of be in a cameo like that. She played a crack whore in Crips. She had a brief part, I believe, in Groom Lake. She had a lot of little blip parts, but then like when she had real parts, like she had like really bitchin' roles and like this, and she's amazing in Blood Dolls. Like she's just incredible in Blood Dolls. So, and she's really good in Prison of the Dead.
So she's worked with David Dakota like a few times.
Yeah, she at least did 2 movies with him. She did this and actually,
Yeah.
she did this. She did Prison of the Dead. I believe she has a brief appearance in Micro Mini Kids, which was one that came out a little bit after this. That was similarly to Totem. It was a movie that was being made that I believe the director was fired off of or got removed from. And
Yeah.
Dave came in and basically took the movie over. I believe she had a small part in Micro Mini Kids. So I believe she did 3 movies with Dave.
Nice. And we can't forget to mention Matthew Jason Walsh as the writer, and everything. I think he uses a different name in it.
Wait, you mean Eric? You mean Eric Black isn't a real man?
No, according to IMDb, no, which kind of sucks for nowadays.
Yeah,
If
I
you want
believe
to
it.
get away with using a fake name, you can anymore on IMDb. I've talked about this on multiple podcasts, but like it doesn't matter anymore if you say, "Oh, my name is blah blah blah," but if everybody knows you're the one who did that, you're screwed.
Yeah. It's funny back you go like maybe 10 years or so ago, the way IMDb used to be designed at the top, it'd say, the person's name and then it'd say also known as, and you'd have like a list of any additional on-screen pseudonyms anyone would have. And on Dave's, it was like a foot long, like
Uh,
past his name, because he had so many pseudonyms that he used during this period, which again is another notable thing to mention that in the truncated blockbuster slash Hollywood video cut of this movie that came out on VHS, he did take a pseudonym. He
mm,
was billed as Richard Chasen.
oh wow,
Get it? Richard Chasen? Dick Chasen?
Dick Chasen. Okay, wait.
uh,
So that was David
yes.
Dakota who did that?
Yes.
Okay.
Dick Chasen was only ever billed as director of the edited version of Voodoo Academy and The Killer Eye. But he
I don't know why
which
for Killer Eye, you'd want to get rid of that one.
you look at the two; they're very similar in approach and visual themes. So, but he did retain his real name credit on the director's cut version. So, and I'd mentioned to you too how both of those cuts have very polar opposite, different opening scene credit sequences.
Right.
The edited version has kind of like a CGI sort of, thing with the credits, and then this version he shot the very classy like headshot,
Right.
stills of each of the main boys to open the film, which I think in this movie actually it might seem like a weird way to open the movie, but I feel like it feels really classy for this movie. So
Usually his openings for like, the Brotherhood ones or like I was thinking like Final Stab or stuff like that. He opens with the sideways shot or whatever and then like,
yeah.
and all this shit and it's like I know that's probably the DP who's doing a lot of that, kind of stuff or whatever, but like those Dutch angles and all these things just drive me nuts. Like just dude, just you're
Yeah.
not, like you're not fooling anybody by doing that. But this one did have a really classy opening. I liked it. So
Yeah, that's very predominant through the Rapid Heart run of films with Dutch angles, a lot of slow motion, a lot of the actual, you don't hear it in this movie, but a lot of the beating heart sound effect in the background. Those
is
are
that
things
where it
you'll
got
find in.
rapid? Rapid Heart Films from, maybe?
Maybe, you never know. But it's definitely a theme that you see in a lot of those movies. There's always that. Uh, that's kind of the the thing that he would do in a lot of these movies of this period too is he would call it the G-rated erotica, where it was like he would have a lot of motion, keep the frame moving, but everything would be dialed down in slow motion, play an audio track over it, and no nudity or anything, but just kind of like visual stimuli, I guess, to kind of give titillation, but not cross the line into vulgarity. So,
Mm, there you go. Well, so yeah, so there
which
was,
pushes the limit in this movie where you've got boys. So,
well, I'm trying to think, like, there's only a couple, like, so there's that scene I showed you the picture of where just like the dude's taking a bath and then like two dudes like, well, one dude walks in, just chats with him or whatever, and then another dude walks in all shirtless, or the one dude I think is the main dude, it's like naked, in the bath or whatever, but you can't really see, you know.
well, yeah, it's Kevin Calisher's in the tub, and Riley
Okay.
Smith is just sitting next to him in nothing but a towel, like. And then Ben Andrew walks in behind them, like brushing his teeth, and he's in just a towel. And the one thing that stuck for me for 25 years, this is when Ben Andrew walks in, Kevin Calisher has that really awful line of dialogue. Like, he's like, "Hey, nice chest, Mikey." I'm just like, no,
Oh. Oh.
don't say
Especially,
that.
are they
Like,
all supposed to be like straight? I mean, they never say anything specific, but except I guess they do say that the girl is hot,
no,
So I have no idea.
yeah,
I just assumed they were all straight and they were put in this game. Like they were all straight characters that were told to say gay things, I guess. I don't know. It's a bit strange. Like
yeah.
it kind of made me feel a little uncomfortable at times, just because I felt I think I felt like they felt uncomfortable at times, you know?
They might, but I'll say this with a lot of these kinds of movies, Dave was always really good at getting and finding new talent because a lot of the agencies that he dealt with, they knew that if they had new faces, they could contact him, and uh, even if the movies might not have been amazing final product, they would end up with a completed film that would get released.
Yep.
It would have international distribution, and they would have footage for their reels, and in that footage they would look damn good. So it was kind of like a trade off. You do this little small sort of like maybe slightly homoerotic movie, but you'll get great footage that you look amazing in for your reel. You'll have a completed film under your belt, which is a lot more than a lot of starting out actors can claim to. And usually, at the time they've had like a sort of 3 movie rule. You can only do 3 movies with them, and after that you had to go off and be a star. You weren't allowed to come back and keep doing Dakota movies. You were expected to level up and go
Well,
do bigger stuff. So,
well, you know who he learned that from, right?
who?
Roger Corman.
Yeah. Well, there
Roger
you go.
Corman had the same rule. If you were
Yeah.
on, Roger Corman actually said, if you were on more than 3 films of his, then you were doing something wrong,
Yeah.
you know?
And you're,
And so, yeah, so that's funny that they
yeah.
both had that rule. But
Makes sense.
I mean, and Full Moon at that time, I mean, they were still at sort of one of their peakest, they were sort of doing, I mean, they weren't they weren't where they used to be, you know, and everything, but they weren't literally where they became now, where I love them, but like now I feel like they need more money, you know, um,
Yeah.
sadly. And
Yeah. I mean, that's always the struggle nowadays is
that's
finding the money.
which sucks because it's Full Moon. They have a huge fan base and they have they have stuff to show. Like it's not like they're just some filmmakers just starting out, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, they're a proven brand, but yeah, it's hard. I mean, there's ebbs and flows. There's been high times and there's been some low times. So
Well,
this was during a pretty solid period though. This when Voodoo Academy was produced, there was a almost a an overabundance of full moon product at the time.
but they were sort of changing to like what is it, to video, right, at that time.
Yeah, when this came out, it was around 2000. They had broken from Paramount probably about 4 years prior.
Mm.
So Full Moon Home Video was kind of the thing, and they were sort of transitioning into the DVD market at that period. And but there were a lot of sub labels at the time too that were being established and thriving or failing. So there was a lot of stuff at
Yep.
this time period. Cult Video was that produced this movie was never really a true sub label though. It was just kind of like a distribution brand for some stuff. So that I couldn't really name off a bunch of movies that Cult Video produced because there really wasn't much. so,
So this was basically an
but
LLC, right? Like this
this
was
movie
just
was successful once the DVD was released of this movie. It was successful because the DVD of this movie is actually probably one of the best DVDs Full Moon ever released. It is one of the most jam packed, comprehensive DVDs that you could imagine.
is it out of print now? Can you
Very out of print, yeah, yeah. The
oh,
the Lunar Edition. I have my copy right here.
oh my goodness. I feel
The
I'm all jealous now just 'cause I mean, I don't know. Um oh, wow. Holy crap. There's you can buy it. It's not that expensive on the extended cut is
Mhm.
not that expensive on eBay. So there you go. I might have to pick that
Yeah, it
up
was.
just, you know.
Yeah, it's worth it for the features alone. Honestly, the lunar editions that Full Moon did at the time, they were really comprehensive and jam packed discs. Unfortunately, the Lunar Edition series only ran for about 5 titles, and then it was uh, killed. So,
I just bought it for eight
unfortunately,
bucks.
not all 5 titles are great movies, but that's another story. So,
I just bought it for $8.
nice.
Yes.
Honestly, comparably, the two best Lunar Edition DVDs are this and Witch House 2 Blood Coven.
Nice.
Incredible releases. So, but beyond that, there was like Horror Vision, Vengeance of the Dead, and NoAngels.com were the other Lunar editions. And those are of varying merit and quality, unfortunately.
Well, that kind of sucks, but
Yeah.
um I am looking forward to that. Well, was there anything else you wanted to make sure that you said on this one? Dustin?
Oh, I'm sorry. Say that again.
Yeah, I was just saying, is there anything else that you wanted to like mention for this?
Uh, Beyond the basics, I mean, I think I've pretty much said my piece. I don't think this is a bad movie per se. Um, most people might say that it is, but I think that would be sort of misrepresenting it. I think this is probably the first movie that Dave made that's genuinely like 100% a David Dakota movie. So for that being said, I think it's actually a pretty solid movie. I don't think it necessarily deserves the kind of disownership that it's kind of gotten from Full Moon, but it doesn't really fit the catalog either. I think so. I understand at the same time. it's just very, very much not in their wheelhouse.
Hmm.
So so
Well,
much so that Dave did keep title rights because about 12 years after the release of this, he did actually do his own sequel. So
yeah, it was two Voodoo Academy.
Voodoo Academy, yeah, that was during the run of movies at the 1313 house. Uh, Dave shot probably about 25 movies in about a 2 or 3 year span at the same house in like the Hollywood Hills, I believe. Giant mansion. And he did part two there with Michelle Bauer. And
Nice.
not as good. But Michelle's great in it. So
I'm kind of sad that they didn't call it 1313 Voodoo Academy.
it was kind of weird. I hate it. I always hated the idea that they put the two in the front of it because there was a common practice at the time, especially with like, and it was really big with the asylum, where what they would do is they would start their titles with a number or a symbol so that no matter what, your movie would be at the top of wherever you're looking at. You're at the video
Mm,
store, it's the first thing on the shelf. You're looking at it. You're looking at things in a catalog or algorithm, listing. That number's right at the top.
yep.
So that's
So,
why 1313 blah blah 666 blah 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 to Academy, three wicked witches.
oh God.
You know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, I get it, but it's stupid. I don't like it either.
yeah.
Well, I
But
just want,
but it's a fun movie though for what it is. I think it's I think it's in people might scoff at this, but I think it's an important movie for what it is, and for what it stands for. And it is the first of its kind. So
well, there you go, everybody. You heard it from Dustin first. I want to say thank you, Dustin, so much for coming on the show and chatting with me on here. And join us. We're gonna be doing in a little bit. We're gonna be doing a review of a movie for 31 Days of Indie Horror. So Dustin will be back for that. So thank you so much, and everybody else.
sweet.
Thank you all for checking this out. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.